Hello, everyone. Imagine standing in front of a mirror, staring into your own eyes and saying, I know you, I accept you, and I will fight to let you shine. For many of us, that moment of connection feels distant, almost impossible. But today I want to talk about what it takes to be true to yourself, to show up in this world as the most authentic version of you. The first step to being true to yourself is understanding that vulnerability is not a weakness, it's a profound source of strength and courage. Yet in a world that often glorifies perfection, control, and invulnerability, admitting to vulnerability can feel like walking into battle without armor. But the truth is, when we shield ourselves from vulnerability, we also shield ourselves from the very things that give life meaning, connection, joy, and a sense of belonging. Vulnerability is the willingness to show up as you are, imperfections and all, knowing that you cannot control the outcome. It's exposing the parts of yourself that you fear others might judge or reject. Maybe it's admitting you don't have all the answers, asking for help when you need it, or sharing a deeply personal truth. These moments, though uncomfortable, are what make us human. They create the space for genuine connection because they allow others to see who we really are, not who we're pretending to be. Yet we resist vulnerability because it feels risky, it feels uncertain. If we reveal our insecurities or fears, what if we're met with criticism or rejection? What if the world sees us as weak or unworthy? These fears often lead us to build walls around our heart's walls made of perfectionism, detachment, or cynicism. We tell ourselves, if I don't let anyone in, I can't get hurt, but the cost of those walls is steep. When we hide our vulnerability, we disconnect not only from others, but also from ourselves. Being vulnerable requires bravery because it's not about guarantees. It's about showing up anyway, even when there are no assurances. Think of the moments when you've truly felt alive. Were they moments of certainty and control? Or were they moments when you stepped into the unknown, when you risked your heart, when you allowed yourself to be seen, not knowing how others might respond? The most meaningful experiences in life, falling in love, pursuing a dream, or even standing up for what you believe in, are inseparable from vulnerability. One of the most powerful aspects of embracing vulnerability is how it transforms relationships. When we allow ourselves to be seen as we are, we give others permission to do the same. Vulnerability fosters trust and intimacy because it says, I'm willing to be real with you. Whether in friendships, family, or professional settings, authentic connection stems from a willingness to show up honestly. But it's important to remember that vulnerability is not the same as oversharing or seeking validation. It's not about putting everything on display for everyone to see. Vulnerability is about being intentional and discerning, choosing to share your truth with people who have earned your trust. It's about recognizing that the courage to be open comes from within, not from the need for external approval. Embracing vulnerability also means reframing failure and discomfort as opportunities for growth. When you allow yourself to take risks, to try and stumble, you learn resilience. You begin to understand that vulnerability is not a sign of fragility, but a testament to your strength. It shows that you are willing to show up fully, to engage with life wholeheartedly, even when it feels uncertain. Every single one of us carries around stories in our minds, narratives that shape how we see ourselves, the world, and our place within it. These stories aren't just idle thoughts, they're powerful scripts that influence our actions, relationships, and self-worth. But here's the thing, many of these stories are incomplete, exaggerated, or simply untrue. If we're not careful, they can become prisons that confine us to a smaller version of ourselves. To be true to yourself, you must learn to challenge the stories you tell yourself. These internal narratives often begin in childhood, when we absorb messages from our families, schools, and communities. Maybe you were told you were too much, too loud, too sensitive, or too ambitious. Maybe the story was that you weren't enough, not smart enough, talented enough, or deserving enough. Over time, these messages take root, and we unconsciously carry them into adulthood, allowing them to dictate how we show up in the world. What makes these stories so insidious is that they're often invisible. We rarely stop to examine them, yet they influence everything: how we approach relationships, how we pursue our goals, and how we view setbacks. For example, if you believe the story that you're not capable, you might hesitate to take risks or step outside your comfort zone. If you believe the story that you must earn love through perfection, you might exhaust yourself trying to meet impossible standards. The first step to challenging these stories is becoming aware of them. Pay attention to the moments when your inner critic speaks the loudest. What are the patterns? Do you hear yourself saying, I can't do this, I'm not good enough, or they won't like me? These thoughts are clues that reveal the stories you've been carrying. Once you identify the narrative, ask yourself, where did this story come from? Is it based on facts or assumptions? Whose voice is it? Often, you'll find that the stories are rooted in fear or shame rather than truth. Recognizing this is liberating because it gives you the power to rewrite the narrative. For example, if the story is, I always fail, you can reframe it, failure is a part of learning, and every step teaches me something valuable. If the story is, I'm not lovable, you might remind yourself, love isn't about being perfect, it's about being real. Rewriting your internal story isn't about ignoring your struggles or pretending everything is fine. It's about telling the truth, the full truth. It's about acknowledging your challenges without letting them define you. You are not your mistakes, your fears, or your limitations. You are the person who has faced them and is still standing. When you challenge the stories you tell yourself, you create space for growth and possibility. You open the door to new ways of seeing yourself, ways that honor your resilience, your potential, and your worth. It's not easy work, but it's essential if you want to live authentically and wholeheartedly. By rewriting your story, you take back the pen and reclaim the narrative of your life. Living wholeheartedly means embracing life with courage, authenticity, and an openness to both its beauty and its messiness. It's not about perfection or having everything figured out. Instead, it's about showing up fully committed to living in alignment with your values, expressing your true self, and leaning into experiences that make life meaningful. At its core, wholehearted living requires you to embrace your imperfections. Society often tells us to strive for flawlessness, whether it's in our appearance, achievements, or relationships. But the pursuit of perfection is a trap. It keeps us in a constant state of comparison and fear. Wholehearted living flips the script. It says you are enough, just as you are, imperfections included. When you let go of the need to be perfect, you give yourself permission to be human, to grow, and to connect with others in a more authentic way. Another essential element of wholehearted living is aligning your life with your values. This means knowing what truly matters to you, not what others expect of you or what society deems important, but what resonates deeply with your heart. Maybe it's family, creativity, service, or adventure. Whatever your values are, living wholeheartedly means making choices that honor them. Even when it's difficult, it's saying no to what doesn't align with your purpose, so you can say yes to what does. Wholehearted living also involves cultivating courage, the courage to be seen, to take risks, and to face uncertainty. It's easy to play small, to hide behind masks, or to avoid vulnerability in an effort to protect yourself from pain. But living this way often leaves you feeling disconnected and unfulfilled. Courage doesn't mean you won't feel fear, it means you act anyway, because you know what's at stake is worth it. Whether it's pursuing a dream, standing up for your beliefs, or loving someone deeply, wholehearted living requires stepping into the unknown and trusting yourself to navigate it. Connection is another cornerstone of wholehearted living. To truly live fully, you must nurture meaningful relationships with friends, family, and yourself. This means being present, listening deeply, and showing up authentically in your interactions. It's about building connections that are based on trust and mutual respect rather than superficiality or convenience. And while connection with others is vital, wholehearted living also demands a strong connection with yourself. This means practicing self-compassion, honoring your needs, and taking time to reflect on what brings you joy and fulfillment. Finally, living wholeheartedly means embracing life's full spectrum of emotions. Too often, we try to avoid discomfort, grief, sadness, fear, thinking that doing so will protect us. But numbing pain also numbs joy. Wholehearted living invites you to feel it all, to sit with the discomfort and the delight, knowing that every emotion has something to teach you. It's about recognizing that life is not about avoiding challenges, but about growing through them. When you commit to living wholeheartedly, you create a life that feels authentic, meaningful, and deeply connected to who you truly are. It's a practice, not a destination, a daily choice to show up fully and embrace the journey. As we reflect on what it means to be true to yourself, the path becomes clear. It's not about perfection, control, or meeting the expectations of others. It's about showing up authentically, even when it feels uncomfortable. It's about embracing vulnerability, challenging the stories that limit you and living wholeheartedly in alignment with your values and truth.
This journey requires courage and self-compassion. It asks you to face your fears, rewrite the narratives that hold you back, and lean into the fullness of who you are, imperfections and all.
When you choose to honor your authentic self, you create space for deeper connections, greater resilience, and a life that truly reflects your heart and soul. So as you move forward, I encourage you to ask yourself, what does it look like to be true to me? And then with courage and intention, take the first step. Because the world needs your unique light, and more importantly, you deserve to shine. Thank you.